Hi, my name is Tracy. I am the mother of one of the boys. My son was called Josh, and he was one of the three lovely boys that was murdered at Shepperdston Lane in Hayes on the 26th of the 1st, 2018. I thought long and hard about doing this video, and the reason why I'm doing this video is to show you that they were murdered. By the end of the video, you can make your own mind up. Now, you're told in the beginning that if you say things, you're told and you hear that you could ruin the case. A potential juror could see something you post, or something could get out that shouldn't get out, and it could ruin the case. Well, this can't happen here because this being that murdered our boys has gone guilty, but that's just to get a third off. He's gone guilty, so there's going to be no trial, so there'll be no jury. So then I sit and ask myself, so what, we're meant to wait till after sentencing until we have to say what we say, and then after sentencing it's too late. Seems to be the law of the land, seems to be what they want you to do. Don't say nothing now, wait till after. Well, after is too late, because this being J.N.S. Chudasama is on the wrong charge. He should be on 3 counts of murder and 2 attempted murders. There was 5 boys on that pavement, 5 children, and 3 children walking the other way down. I'll explain to you what we know, and as I said at the start of this video, you can then decide what you think yourself. So from the beginning, things didn't add up that we was told. So right early on in this case, all 3 sets of parents, not just me, all of us, thought this doesn't add up. Doesn't add up at all. Things that don't add up that we were being told, which I will tell you about in a minute. And the observational evidence didn't add up. We go there every night to Shepperdston Lane, and we light the candles, say goodnight to our boys, so we feel like we're doing something for them. And every time we went there for the first couple of weeks, one of the parents' fathers, who knows a lot about cars and how cars are handled for many years, said this isn't right. You know, the bollards are quite a way down. Yes, we know he was going at a speed of 71 miles an hour. Could have actually been more when he murdered our boys. But back there, by the garage, we know he was doing 71 miles an hour. But even that far back, and coming in between the bollards, and your wheel going along the curb, he still had time to have control of the car. So that's one of the things that we discussed between ourselves. Things do not add up. Other things, like for instance, round the corner is Asda's. Not far, a few minutes away by car is Asda's. We find out that earlier on in the evening, J.N.S. Chudasama and his passenger was sitting in Asda's car park for 2 hours and 20 minutes and did not get out of the car. 2 hours and 20 minutes sitting in their car in Asda car park and didn't get out. They was on their phones, but they didn't get out of the car. So who in their right mind, sitting around the corner for 2 hours and 20 minutes in the cars and don't get out of it? So they was using their phones while they was in the car. When they came out of Asda car park that night, they disappear. Police can't find them on any CCTV anywhere. No CCTV whatsoever. Until they appear at that moment there, outside the garage on Shepherdson Lane, seconds before he murdered our boys. The police can't even tell us if he went down the road first and then come back up. I don't understand that. Don't understand it. Other things like, you know, silly little things that don't make sense why you wouldn't say, you know. Things like they said, you know, they was both born here, but then I find out last week that one of them wasn't. And that's a silly thing. I don't know why they wouldn't, why they would come out with that and not just say. Doesn't make sense. You know, we had a meeting with the police, all three families, and we had a meeting with us because that night, that scene, that horrific scene, was not treated like a crime scene. Wasn't taped off to the morning and looked in daylight. Nothing. They only had one focus in mind and they never looked at any other. They never looked at another line of inquiry. They just looked at one, which was the drink. It's the only line of inquiry they did. And I'll tell you where I know that. I know that because they did not even search the driver's house. Now, I asked them this last week when we had a meeting with the CPS. Because when we had that meeting with the CPS, you had all three families, mine, Josh's, Harry's, and George's. And for an hour and a half or more, we're sitting there explaining to them why we believe this was deliberate. It was a deliberate act. For whatever reason, it was a deliberate act. And the CPS are telling us they can only go with what the police give them. And we said, because the police never even looked at another line of inquiry. The police were there at the CPS meeting, and I asked one of the police officers or inspectors, did you search the driver's house and look on his laptop, look on his computers to see what he looks at? Did you search his house? The answer to that was no. It was explained to me that apparently they couldn't get a Section 18, which is an entry and search after arrest. Why? You can with other criminals. You can arrest someone, then you can get a search warrant to search their property, surely. Surely you can. Ah, but then she did say to one of George's parents, we did go round there, but they were sleeping, so we didn't want to disturb them or ask if we can come in because they were sleeping. Have you heard anything like it in your life? 3 children have been murdered and you do not want to wake this family up. Why? Why? I don't get that. Don't get that. So there's that. You know, couldn't get a Section 18. Bizarre. So the house, never been searched. You know, everything's been played down from the beginning. We've been told, you know, let us know if there's any media present. You know, we don't want them hassling you. You know, we don't want them at your door. So straight off, your back is up against the media because you think as soon as you see them, they're going to start hassling you. Well, let me tell you something. The media haven't hassled me at all. They've been nothing but respectful, kind, thoughtful. When I was down Shepherdson Lane once, I saw a lady reporter down the other end and there was someone with a camera. She didn't approach me. When I got to her end, she just asked me nicely, not hassling me, said, was there something I'd like to say on my son? And I said, sorry, but I can't talk at the moment. Never then ran after me while I was trying to go to my car, left me alone. But in the beginning, your back's up because you think you're going to be chased and, they're going to be hassling you because that's what's put in your head. No. They've been nothing but nice. Nothing but nice. Now, the media, we've said to some of them our thoughts on this and what we believe, but they can't print it. They can't show it because they're abided by laws. The only way they'd ever be able to show some of the things we've said to them is if we, yet again, after sentencing, when we've got the appeal courts, and then if we complain to the IPCC, which is the Independent Police Complaints Commission, if they then decide to look into it, then the media can print this. Everything's like hushed up. You're like suppressed. Don't say nothing because it can do this, it can do that. Well, what good is it knowing what we know after sentencing? After sentencing. It's now that people need to know what our justice system is like. I've never been in it before like this. And not only do we have to deal with pain every day, and we just exist at the loss of our beautiful, beautiful boys, we have to deal with a justice system, and we have to fight a justice system. We shouldn't have to do that. We need the sentence to fit the crime. And although no amount of time will ever be enough for what this being did to our boys, anything less than life is an insult to them, and it's an insult to us. It's an insult to their friends, to the communities, to all the people this has affected, to the siblings. We just exist. Getting through the day is hard enough. The only thing getting us all through at the minute is fighting for justice, being our sons' voices. That's the only thing we can do. Now, when we was at this CPS meeting, after speaking for an hour and a half and being us trying to explain to them why we feel this was deliberate and something isn't right, and the CPS explaining to us they can only go with what the police give them. While we were sitting there, another officer said, "Shall I read you the crash scene investigators report?" We're like, yes, read it. We hadn't heard it. Didn't even know the full report had been done. The officer reads the report. And this is the report. Mr. Chudasama, back here where 2 bollards are, and you will still see this later on in the video because I have videoed Shepherdston Lane, so hopefully it will make a bit more sense. Back there at the bollards, Mr. Chudasama overtakes a car. That car is going at 30 miles an hour because that driver deemed that that was the safe limit for the road. Even though it was 60, he travels the road every day and felt that was appropriate for that road. So Mr. Chudasama overtakes that car in between 2 bollards. As he comes round, he could have carried on because no cars were coming down. He then sees this second bollard, so he has to quickly pull his car in at 71 miles an hour. His back rear wheel then goes along the inside of the curb, scrapes along the curb. After that, this is in the report, this is what's being read to us. After that, quite a few metres down from the boys, he gains control of his car. He has control of his car. This is what this is is telling us this is what we already felt. So he has control of his car, keeps going, has control of his car the whole time now. Comes up to where our boys are and their friends, has control of the car, and all of a sudden goes up the pavement and murders our boys. Now, our three boys, Josh, George and Harry, were not in a line. They were not standing at a bus stop. They were not standing together in a perfect line. There was two other boys there as well. So, Mr. Chudasama goes up on the pavement. The two boys that are here, the car, the side of the car hits into them and pushes them over. It cut or done some sort of damage or grazed or whatever it is, one of those boys' legs. You don't even hear that, do you? You haven't heard that in any media report or anything like that. He continues on, doesn't turn his wheel. Does not turn his wheel. And this is quite a long stretch of pavement here. Carries on. Hits poor George. Then still doesn't turn his wheel. Hits Josh, my son, who landed in the cemetery. Carries on. Carries on. Still no turn of the wheel. And hits poor Harry. Poor Harry goes on to the bonnet of the car. He carries on. As he gets near the end, this side of the car, the left-hand side of the car, hits the lamppost. Then it makes it hit into a small wall, a low wall, and then it made the car spin over to the right. Well, if you can watch the video, you'll see that. Then he brakes. So the whole time from back where the bollards are to when he gains control of his car and he comes up to where our boys are and mounts the pavement, he does not brake at all. No turning of the wheel, no braking. Our kids weren't in a symmetrical line or whatever you want to call it, and they weren't standing at a bus stop, they was walking. He didn't brake. Now braking is an automatic reaction like riding a bike. You don't have to think about braking, you just do it. The only time he broke was when his car span. Was that to save himself? What was that about? He was also in an automatic car. You know, could have just lifted his foot off the pedal. The accelerator. An automatic car. It then spins and stops. Had it not have hit that lamppost, just further up, I don't know how much in feet, 10 feet maybe, something like that, there was another 3 children walking down. Another 3 children. But from here, the passenger gets out, runs around to the driver's side and opens the door for him, the passenger. And they get out and they both ran. The 2 friends of our sons, the heroic friends that were back here that the car knocked into and knocked to the side, ran after him, ran after them, managed to get hold of the driver and drag him back. And they were holding on to him while they're trying to tend to our boys. While they was trying to tend to our boys, they was holding on to him. Now, following on from that, the driver gets taken to hospital, and then the next day when he is interviewed, he says no comment. No comment all the way through. No comment. Was it an accident? No comment. Was it deliberate? No comment. Any other questions? No comment. No remorse? No comment. He has been interviewed again since then. Again, no comment. The passenger has been interviewed. Said nothing. passenger. The passenger who run round and let the driver out the car has said nothing. Was at the police station last week with a prepared statement that also said nothing. No remorse. One of the parents asked when they were speaking to a police officer, prove to me it wasn't deliberate. They can't prove it wasn't deliberate. Even the CPS didn't disagree with us. The CPS can only go with what they're given. I don't know why any other line of inquiry wasn't looked at. Why? Why wouldn't you have looked at that? What is it you don't want to say? What is it you don't want us to know? Something's not right. So one of the parents asked, and this was the 3 reasons that this parent was given why this couldn't have been a terrorist attack. 3 reasons that I'm sure only an infant would believe. Reason 1, they had no guns in the car. Well, I've known other terrorist attacks where there haven't been guns in the car. Number 2, they ran. Well, sorry, but could anyone show me another case where these people haven't got out of the car and ran? You know, what? And have they waited for you then? Have they waited for the police to come and say, here I am? And 3, there wasn't a crowd. There wasn't a crowd. Well, there was 5 children on this pavement, 5 children, and another 3 children walking this way. That's 8 children. 3's a crowd, isn't it? How many does it have to be a crowd? How many? All we want is the truth. Other avenues of inquiries should have been done. Wasn't done. His home wasn't searched. Didn't get a Section 18. Couldn't get a Section 18. Even the Old Bailey, where this is being tried, was played down to us. Played down in the sense that 2 police officers, when we was at a meeting, said to us, we know it's at the Old Bailey, but it's only an overflow court. Don't take notice of that. It could go anywhere else, you know. After you've been to the preliminary hearing, it could go off to somewhere else. Well, it hasn't gone off to somewhere else. Why would you play that down? While we're at the depths of despair and pain and hurt, trying to keep us suppressed that this isn't what? This isn't nothing? 3 children have been murdered and 2 attempted murders, and this isn't nothing? And then another police officer, only the other day, says to me, you know, it's the highest court in the land. As we all know, it's the Central Criminal Court. Why would we be told it's just an overflow court? It's shocking. It's shocking that I have to be here doing this video, telling people, but my belief is after sentencing, everything's too late. I don't know what can be done now I've done this video, but I'm making sure people know now. You know, us 3 families are our boys' voices. And I will say, freedom of speech and the fact that I'm a mother, the fact that this man has killed my son and his lovely 2 friends, I will speak out. I won't be going anywhere till the sentence fits the crime. Now when we went to the Old Bailey, we, us family members, friends, siblings, we went into court wearing this under our coats. There's nothing offensive about that. Picture of our 3 boys and saying our boys. When we walked in there, we was told by the staff that work in there that we have to either take it off, turn it inside out, or turn it the other way. I asked why. It's not offensive to anybody. Why do we have to do that? We was told because the judge has to show to be fair. She has to be seen to be fair. Fair to who? Fair to our 3 boys that have been murdered? Fair to who? Doesn't make sense at all. There's a lot more things about this case and about the handling of the whole thing. Other sensitive information that I can't go into right now. Things like the funerals. When we had a meeting, and we was all there, all 3 families there, with the police, 2 police officers, said about the funerals, and all 3 families said, they asked us about the press. They said, we can keep the press away from that day. You know, we keep them away from you. We don't want them hassling you yet again, even though they hadn't hassled me in the first place. We can keep them away from you. And we all said, no, we want the press there. We went the whole of Great Britain, the whole of the world, to see what happened to our boys. People need to know what happened. So we specifically said that. George's funeral was first, and there was no press there. None anywhere. None anywhere. Couldn't work this out. We thought, well, maybe, you know, the press don't want to report on it anymore. A few days later, one of the other parents spoke to someone from the press, and they didn't know about it. The police hadn't informed them of when George's funeral was, even though we said we wanted them to be there. So us and Harry's parents made sure we spoke directly to the press. But why? Why wasn't they told? Is it because they don't want this out in the open? I went to police station the other day, Alperton police station. I'll say what police station it was. I have freedom of speech. I went to the police station the other day and I spoke to someone there. I won't say no names, but I spoke to someone there and I told them that I wasn't happy with their inquiry. I told them that I believe it was a deliberate act. I told them I was going to let everybody know, because the press, they can't let you know because of laws. The police certainly aren't going to let you know. But I am. I'm going to let everybody know. And I'm not going to back down. And I'm going to keep fighting for justice, along with Harry's parents and George's parents. We're all singing from the same page. And what's going to happen, if we leave it to after, is a miscarriage of justice, in the sense of he's on the wrong charges. He's pleaded guilty to get a third off, not through remorse. There's been no statement. There's been no nothing. Absolutely nothing. No matter what he's been asked, so no comment. So I want everyone to know before sentencing what we're enduring, because it needs to change. You know, we've got 2 petitions. One petition asking for his charge to be changed to murder, and one for the bill that will change death by dangerous driving from 14 years to life. It's just sitting there. Why would you just have something so important sitting there when people are dying on the roads every day? Why wouldn't you just get that in? It's an important bill, and pass it now. You know, if you're reviewing it and you want to add something else to it, then add it later. Get that in now. Families shouldn't have to go through this. Going back, because I have missed it out, sorry. Going back to the crash scene investigator's report, when he said Mr. Tudor-Sama had control of the car. He then mounts the pavement, and in his report he says he doesn't know why he did that. Doesn't know why he mounted the pavement, so all he can assume it was because he had a drink. Now that's presumption for a start, and yes, he had a drink. We're not taking that fact away. We're not taking the fact away that he was speeding, that he ran from the scene, you know, and we're not taking away the fact of that he had drugs in his system. But we don't believe it was the drink that caused that. But, you know, the police have got a case. They don't have to waste any more resources, you know. We've been told they're very hard up at the moment. Some of the police officers don't even have a phone. So maybe that's what it is, you know. Save on the money. Don't use any more resources. We have a charge. So let's go with that. No inquiry into anything else. And as I say, there's a few more things that go with this story, if you want to call it a story, which I will tell in another video. So I've said some of the things of what we know, but as I said, at the end of the day, everyone's entitled to their own opinion, and you can make your own mind up. But we believe it was deliberate, and this being should be on 3 counts of murder and 2 attempted murders. Thank you.